All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of Conversation with Coach Kevin. I'm your host, Kevin Thornton, life coach and author. Today, I have a very special guest. This is someone I've been following on social media for a minute, um, and he's doing extraordinary things. I was more drawn to his energy
Mm,
and his intentionality of how he walks, talks, and how he moves. But more importantly, I really respect how he loves his wife.
mm,
Um, and we'll talk about that too,
mm,
because I think a lot of times we don't see black love in the way I see it when I watch y'all on
mm.
YouTube.
That's an honor.
And so for that, that's one of the main reasons why I want you on the show.
Okay.
Um, so I want you to introduce yourself, brother. Tell everybody who you are, what you do, and we'll go from there.
At this point, I'm probably most known by the moniker y'all see on the screen, Brick City Buddha. Before that guy showed up, I was more so known as Docs Diggler, the artist, hip hop artist. And before that, born in Newark, New Jersey, grew up in East Orange, New Jersey. You know, pretty much one of the most notorious hoods, if you will, in the country. And spent a lot of time in church coming up under my parents. And then when that got too tight of a box for me, if you will,
Mm,
um, going to school and making college, making a lot of connections in college from similar places as me. And when I kind of
mm,
gracefully bowed out of college, that's when I got into the street stuff. And spent a lot of time chasing that version of myself that I thought
mm,
I needed to become, that I needed to get my stripes as a man. Growing up in those type of places, you feel like you're not really a man until you got a bunch of women under your belt, or you
mhm,
put some staining in the street. So I spent a lot of time in that phase of my life trying to earn my manhood in that way. And that led me to a lot of dis-ease, a lot of stress, kidney failure, vision impairment, going blind in my left eye for 3 years, 13-year relationship at that time with the woman I thought I would marry, disintegrated. Like I always say, my personal version of rock bottom. And I'm grateful, I'm fortunate that I was able to receive some of the keys, the information and the wisdom I'm now able to hand down to other people that like really revolutionized my whole journey. I never thought I would be this Brick City Buddha guy back then, but God worked in mysterious ways.
it's you have said so much in that one statement that I wanted to dissect.
Mm-hmm.
The first part is for me coaching a lot of the men that I coach, and a lot of them are in the late 20s, early mid 30s range,
Mm-hmm.
and they're doing what you were doing.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to find themselves, trying to figure out they chasing the version of what they feel a black man's supposed to be,
Mm-hmm.
and they're uncomfortable a lot of times being the true version of themselves. So can you um, tell the listeners what what was the thing that made you say, okay, I'm ready to change, and I'm okay with the version I'm about to become?
Um, I wasn't ready while I was becoming it. That's the thing. You don't really get a game plan or a book for this life thing. You just kind of gotta wing it until you get enough of, I guess, other people's templates to be able to compare and contrast your story and use what has worked for other people in ways that's unique to you. But this wasn't a conscious decision for myself. This was, I always say, people learn one of two ways: inspiration, desperation. Most of us, we have to get that desperation energy to realize I gotta make some changes. And for
Right.
me, the ball dropped when I found out about my kidney issues at that time. Being 23 years old, my kidney at that point was only at 17% functionality, so it was low key a silent, soft death sentence that the doctors was giving me. And at that time, I'm thinking mortality is going to come from, the jump out boys, getting robbed, getting shot in the streets, the cops, or what they going to do. And I have to start to think about, nah, your mortality can happen from the inside out. Your body can say time is up regardless of what you do. And that really sent me down a rabbit hole of thinking about or just coming to grips with the fact we ain't going to be here forever. I mean, we,
Absolutely.
we really think lose sight of the fact of how short this is, how little opportunity we have to make shifts and changes. not only
Mm-hmm.
in this particular iteration of our soul, but our soul's journey going forward, whatever that's going to become outside of here. So I remember when I had done a considerable amount of work for myself. I was in that period where I was on disability because I was legally blind in my left eye.
Mm-hmm.
And that 3 year period of solitude, I say maybe the first 7, 8 months, it was destroying me. I had never had to just sit my butt down and be by myself, but it also
Right.
became an incubator for me to walk into my spirit and treat it like a science lab, and be in the forest for 6, 7, 8 hours a day on my, like I always say, Martin
Mhm.
episode where he went to the ashram, and they
Right.
were doing the Naji Ramba chant. That was my Naji Ramba period of my life, and that really turned into what I needed to establish my own healing. And when I
Mm-hmm.
got to that point, I was kind of selfish with it. Like, I got what I need for myself. I ain't worried about nobody else. But then that downfall
Absolutely.
started to come. Now you got to go give it back. You got to start teaching. So even at first, I say maybe a year, 2 years of me starting to teach, the success came very quick, but it still took me a long time to realize what I was really here to do. I'm still coming to grips with it.
Absolutely. So, to be honest, one of the first videos I saw of you is when you was making that salad that you like to eat on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in the process of preparing to go raw vegan
Mm.
for like 21 days
Mm.
to like give my system a rest and everything like that. So I was scouring YouTube to find some good salads to make because I like
Wow.
salads. And I saw your video of
Wow.
that salad. And to this day, I make that salad. Actually, I just got back from the grocery store buying all the ingredients so I
Mm.
can have that salad because that salad was is really good. It's really nurturing.
Mm.
So who so are you self-taught in your nutrition or did you go to any getting certification or anything like that? Because you're very knowledgeable on what you're talking about.
Appreciate you, my brother. Now for me, it's all been trial and error. To this day, I don't have any pieces of paper for anything I teach, anything I do. And it hasn't kept me out of really any rooms. I've taught in rooms full of PhD doctors and lawyers and all type of stuff, Fortune 500 companies. But as far as the food aspect, and to a large degree, I feel like food is the front door to evolution,
Mhm,
healing, spirituality, whatever you want to call it. You can do all the work you want to do on the spirit realm. If your vessel not in order, you pretty
mhm,
much can cultivate a lot of energy, but you're gonna bleed it out, right?
mhm,
So for me, I was like guided and directed to certain people, places, and things and resources where I was able to pick up the knowledge. When I found out I was pregnant, well, we was pregnant, me and my son's mother. Um, I needed a job, bro. Right?
mhm.
I was teaching, I was freelancing, and I was venturing off of the disability checks, but I was establishing enough momentum in my community that I was able to take care of myself, right, on what I was doing.
Right,
It wasn't nowhere to the degree it was now, but I was good for me. But then you find out you got a son on the way, you got to turn up,
right.
right? I'm doing my sessions, I'm hustling, copper jewelry at the time, like, and it's just like, nah, it's not enough. So I went on a job search and I landed at this place called Dean's in New Jersey. I
Mhm.
had never professionally cooked in any set, never. I could cook for myself at that time. And
Right.
it was still a lot I didn't know in the world of veganism at that time. But to get hired as a chef at this place, which is still to this day very well known as a health market, but not just a market, food is prepared every day. So that was like my incubator as well for what I learned as
Mhm.
far as food. Coming in there having to prep 5 in the morning, doors open at 7 o'clock, and having to have all that food laid out. I would have time in between preparation to walk down those aisles. Right. When everybody else is complaining about having to be at work this early, I'm tired of this job. For me, it was like school. So I'm
Right.
prepping food, I'm doing what I'm doing, but then I'm looking through the aisles because I had never seen ingredients like this. I had
Mhm.
never seen the knowledge I was seeing just on reading the back of packages. And that turned into like a university setting for me. And I had discounts, of course, so now I could experiment with what I made and not have it like really cripple my pockets.
Right.
So that period at Dean's like really turned me into like a full-fledged chef and opened up my idea of possible. If I didn't know how to make it at that point, now I realized I can figure it out. Right.
Right.
So that kind of revolutionized how I started to approach food. And it's funny, last thing I say about the salad video, we do the men's meetings out here in Houston. I was doing them in Jersey, but not doing them in Houston. And we've been talking a lot about how black men celebrate ourselves, or really the lack thereof, right?
Mhm.
And I was telling them about my journey and how my abundance has expanded from just being able to acknowledge my wins.
Mhm.
And I got to the salad thing because it was my first time celebrating myself. Me and my wife was
Really?
still in the courting phase. I forgot what the win was at that time, but she like, all right, so how you gonna celebrate? And I wasn't familiar with that language. I'm like, I don't know, it's cool, but I don't really do that, right? She
Right.
like, nah, you need to figure out a way to celebrate yourself, even if it's just you going to get something nice to eat. I'm like, all
Right.
right. So I start looking up restaurants, and there was this one in particular, like 45 minutes from me, but they menu looked fire, right?
Mhm.
So I'm like, you know what? I want to go here and get one of these salads they got. And right before I like push the button, it's like, nah, bro, it's like 45 minutes. You're gonna waste all that time and gas going to get a salad that's like $30. Like, but celebrate yourself was in my head. So I went. And it wasn't the salad that I make, but it
Mhm.
opened my mind to the world of how satiating and refreshing raw food and salad can be. And
Right.
that sent me down the rabbit hole to be able to come up with a medicine salad maybe 6 months later, that then maybe 6 years later turned into the video that you said you saw, and has been able to garner almost $15,000 for me and my wife over the past 3 months. In a
Yeah.
phase where she didn't have a lot of energy to show up on social media herself. So the money I've been able to garner, I've been able to here, take a break, right? Off of a
Right.
salad video that I never expected to do almost 1 million views on YouTube at this point.
Yeah. Because I have watched it at least 3 times myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Couple things. One thing you said, as men, especially black men, we don't tend to know how to celebrate ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very funny that you said that because I checked in with one of my clients the other day. I said, "How you doing?" And he was pretty much saying how he had put his head down to the ground, he was grinding, and he had finished his 60 hours for his one certification. So now he gonna go and get his bachelor's and his master's. So I said, "So what you gonna do to celebrate that win?"
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Huh? You need to
Mm-hmm.
celebrate that."
Right.
I said, "Don't wait until you get your bachelor's and master's to celebrate. Each success, you need to celebrate it."
Absolutely.
So I said, "What you gonna celebrate, or what you need me to do to be with you to help you celebrate?
Right.
You got to celebrate it."
Right.
And he was like, "I never thought about it that." I said, "We celebrate everybody else,
Exactly.
but we don't celebrate us,
Right.
and we have to learn how to do that."
Yeah. I was at my only retreat that I went to. That was like the impetus to me going on this trajectory. But one of the practitioners at this retreat, maybe 7 years ago, Tallahassee, Florida, shout out to my big bro, spiritually honors yoga, who kind of helped me initiate on this path. But one of the practitioners at the retreat was talking about abundance and
Mhm,
currency, the word currency. And of course, we use it and we think about money, right? Finances.
mhm,
But when you strip it down, the word itself, current, right? Currency is a series of currents, which is an unbroken circuit of energy. If you got
mhm,
an unbroken circuit, you're going to have different sides of it. And the two main poles, the two main sides of a current or currency is giving and
mhm.
receiving.
Yep.
Men and black men especially don't get enough credit for how well we do give and how much we want to see other people win. We love when somebody else win, and I think it got a lot to do with our affinity for sports, to be
Right.
able to root for a team or root for other individuals you never even met. So we kind of take that approach into our life. Somebody doing some big shit,
Absolutely.
like we feel good about that for them, but then
Yep.
we don't allow ourselves to give it to ourselves or to receive it from other people. So we end up having to do double work. You got to do 150% on the giving side because you're not getting anything on the reception side. So I think it's a big cheat code for men to start to be able to tap into. And you will notice if you do it consistently, it will affect your bottom line. It will affect your
Mhm.
finances and the resources you're able to establish, because now you're opening up portals of energy in the universe that are
Yep.
recognizing you honoring both sides of the current.
Absolutely. And people, I think a lot of times people don't realize that everything is energy, including money.
Hmm.
So how you see money
Absolutely.
is going to affect how much you receive back to you. Because if you look at money as a form of lack, a lack of abundance, then it's not going to come to you. But if you come with an open mind that energy comes, flow, currency comes to and from me
Right,
easily, it's
right,
going to come back to you that
right,
kind of way. And
right.
I think that's the one thing I know you teach that, but I know I try to teach that to my clients as well.
Mm-hmm.
My question to you, I saw you on a live one day,
Mm-hmm.
and your wife was going out of town for like 2 weeks,
Okay.
and that caused so much conversation
Mm-hmm.
because they could not believe that you allowed your wife to go out of town for 2 weeks, and you're not gonna be there.
All right.
Can we and can we unpack that? Because I think people don't really understand the amount of how secure you are as a man,
Mm-hmm.
but also how secure you in the relationship you have with your wife,
Mm-hmm.
and that there's no need for you to allow her to do anything.
Right.
So can you talk about that? Because I saw that video, I saw the live, and I saw the comments, and I'm like, okay, this is something I really want to discuss with him because I understand it, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't think everybody else understands it.
Yeah, I think the large majority, and that post is still going. It's still notifications every day from that post because it caused so much turmoil. I think the majority of people was able to understand where we was coming from and appreciate that. But we still live in an idea of love that is extremely selfish. I feel like extremely limited,
Mhm,
and largely based on ownership, especially from the man's perspective. We've been conditioned to feel like once we secure a mate, a wife, that's our property to a certain degree. And the work I did previous to even meeting Candace, because like you said, everything is energy. I'm not able to manifest a woman that can also reciprocate that to me when I need 2 weeks, when I need to go spend a
mhm,
month with my son, when I need to just get out the house or whatever it is. She can also afford me that as well, that liberty. And individuality is such a big component of intimacy with two people, and to a large degree, I think people get lost within the guise of the relationship. They get lost within the other person's identity, and to a large degree, like the term falling in love. We sign
mhm,
up to get lost into the other person. We romanticize this, and we don't realize the damage and effects of it. I've worked with almost 300 couples over the past 8 years, almost 1,000 clients one on one, and I've seen how this perspective of relationship can show up in a way that's extremely hindering to what a person's individual spirit is saying they need for their journey. When we hitch our wagon to somebody, it's not to push them out of their trajectory, it's to accompany,
mhm,
it's to accommodate on their walk home to themselves and vice versa. But to a large degree, people haven't done that work to be able to trust somebody in that capacity. We don't feel like we're trustworthy at large as a
mhm,
populace, and we carry that energy into our union. So a lot of the pushback, men saying, she probably cheating on you right now. Like, for us to go
mhm,
straight to that, of all things, it shows you a lot of the unprocessed trauma we have in ourselves, a lot of the fear and the angst
mhm,
and the lack of self-worth that we could be worthy to have a person leave for 2 weeks and not think about doing anything extracurricular or violating your relationship. A lot of men on that post couldn't fathom that being possible. So the
right,
post did exactly what it was supposed to do. And there's one more aspect to it too. It's not just that I trust our bond and what we have established with each other. It's not just that I trust my wife. It's also that I trust life to do whatever it needs to do. So let's say, case in point, she went away. Like, she's about to go to an ayahuasca trip. She's going back to the jungle. She did ayahuasca before I met her. Beautiful experience. She's felt called to go back to it. So she's taking another trip in April. Probably be going for about 3 weeks. But let's say one of these days she goes on a trip and she meets somebody, and that individual, for whatever reason, sparks something in her that feels like she needs to explore that platonically or maybe even romantically. And it comes to the point where what we have together may need to be revised, revisited, or end. I'm open to that discussion, right? And vice versa. We talk to each other all the time, and I ask her, like, yo, Does this still serve you? Does this connection still resonate with you? Because we don't realize the diversity of the human experience and how things need to shift. So it's not just trust that you're not going to go nowhere. I also trust life to do what it needs to do. And if some other person comes along that you feel like you need to explore, I trust you to give me that information so we can handle that conversation together. That's a level a lot of people ain't ready for.
Yeah, they're not because for one, you come off very selfless
Mm-hmm.
because now and I feel like it goes both ways because for you to check in and say, "Do this relationship still serve you? Do I still serve you?"
Mm-hmm.
That speaks volumes because most people don't ask that type of question
Right.
because they pretty much take advantage of the relationship. So for you to check in and make sure that she still this still serves her in the way it needs to be speaks volumes, and I think it goes over everybody's head because everybody's not at that place
Right.
yet,
Right.
and so I have to acknowledge you on that because
Thank you.
it takes it had to take someone for you and her to be on the same vibration
Mm-hmm.
for y'all to work because I
Right.
think anybody else it probably wouldn't work with you because they wouldn't
Exactly.
understand exactly.
Exactly. I told her very early on, one of my first mantras I would use with her, because I know how much she had been forced into other people's boxes. One of the first things I said to her, like, I promise to keep you free, and vice versa. It's not like I'm just doing all this and offering her all this, I get all this in return. And to a large degree, people end up limiting themselves because of the fear on what's up on the other side of a connection, possibly, maxing out, right?
Mhm.
So, in my heart of hearts, this feels like this is going to be my life cycle to serve my wife in the current way we have our relationship, and vice versa. But to still do those check-ins, to still offer that freedom, even if you know your mate feels satiated, it's a level of safety, right? To just
Right.
know I'm not just mandating or expecting that what I have to offer you is supposed to work for the rest of your life. And in asking that question, even if it's not her saying I want to leave, it opens the door for what I may be able to improve in, and vice versa. How we can serve each other even better. Yeah.
Absolutely. And something else you said was that situation, that statement that you made, it triggered some insecurities in a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And what I realized in coaching a lot of the men, a lot of men suffer from a lot of lack of self-worth,
Absolutely.
a lot of lack of self-love, especially the ones that come without the father.
Mm-hmm.
They come out of father and you know they look for women to fill that void of love that they didn't receive from the father,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still not there. They still got that void because they don't realize that they need that love from that male figure.
Absolutely.
And it's funny because a lot of times the ones that select me to coach them, they select me because they feel like I'll be a good father figure.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy because they never had a lot of these men never had anybody like a you or a me that's going to be
Mm-hmm.
positive and speak
Right.
light and love to them.
Right.
And so when they get someone who's speaking light and love to them and trying to tell them that they worthy of all things,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times they don't know how to receive it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know how to receive it. They don't know how to take it. Um, they get antsy with it
Yep.
because
Get uncomfortable.
they get uncomfortable because I'm asking them or you asking them to receive something they never received before
Mm-hmm.
or to accept something they never accepted before.
Mm-hmm.
And that's um unconditional love from someone from that male species
Absolutely.
that they've been yearning for all their lives. So could you speak to the men that are seeking to find themselves and trying to have the self-love within themselves? Because I see you as being a very confident, driven man,
Mm-hmm.
and I would love for you to speak like to them today, if possible.
Yeah, it reminds me of, and I just saw this maybe like a month ago on Instagram, and I had showed my wife because we real big Chris Brown fans.
Hmm.
And it was a moment I think he was at when Usher was still doing his residency in Vegas. I
Yep.
think he was getting towards the end of it, but I guess Chris and Usher been friends for a long time. Chris had came to one of the concerts and he was on stage with him. I guess they had did some joints together. And at a certain point before Chris was about to get off stage, Usher walked right up to him, right, put both
Hmm.
his hands on his shoulders, and in front of the whole crowd going crazy, screaming, and he just started pouring into him and just telling him how proud of him he was and how great he is. And Chris was so uncomfortable. Like he still had a smile on his face, but he kept looking away. He didn't really know how to respond in that moment. And I realized over the years that to be able to receive, especially intimate levels of love, and a lot of times we don't think of brotherhood as male to male, non sexual, non homosexual intimacy, but it is, right?
Hmm.
You got to develop that muscle to be able to receive intimacy and to be
Hmm.
able to be comfortable in intimate spaces, while either with your brother, your mate, your kids, whoever it is. We got to be open to emotion. We got to be open to our feminine principle. And a lot of men have not dove into that aspect of themselves. We largely rely on logic, being able to reason and figure way and function through things without having to honor what it feels like. So you get in that space, and we always say the heart chakra is the most expansive of all the chakras.
Hmm.
The Sanskrit term for heart chakra is anahata. That translates to unstruck, unbeaten. Meaning that when you tap into that love in there, that divine love that God got hidden in this heart
Hmm.
chakra thing, it don't need a stimulant. It don't need a
Right.
recipient. It don't need a receiver. It don't need a giver. It's just always on tap, just waiting for you to notice it, to be
Hmm.
able to tap into it. So when you start to have moments and glimpses of energy that's this expansive, that's this powerful, it's almost like the electricity coming from PSC&G or wherever y'all at, whatever y'all electricity company is. If you don't got those transformers in the street to step down that energy coming from the plant, if it went straight from the plant to your outlet, it's gonna blow your house up.
Absolutely.
So a lot of times in these moments, we don't have the transformers. We don't have the step down. Haven't done that work to be able to make ourselves ripe and open to receiving energy that's this powerful. As somebody looking you in your eyes, your brother looking you in your eyes and saying, "Bro, I'm proud of you. I acknowledge you. I see you," especially if you didn't have a father figure to help you develop that muscle.
Absolutely. You couldn't say it better than myself. And it's because they get, like you said, they get very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And like one time, I had a client. I asked him, "Could I put my hand on his heart?" I
Right.
put my hand on his heart, and I spoke life into him.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the energy from me was
Mm-hmm.
so strong for him that he just like dropped down to his
Buckle.
knees. He
Buckle.
buckled down, and I wouldn't let it go. And I said, and I just kept on,
Mm-hmm.
speaking life into him. And when I got finished, all he could do is see the tears come out his eyes. And that made him uncomfortable because he didn't want to cry in front of me.
Right.
And I was like, I need you to release that.
Right.
And not only just release it, but understand where's that coming from.
Absolutely.
And he was like, you just did something that I never had before. It's
Mm.
something that I was yearning from my dad that I never got from my dad, but now this stranger pretty much
Mm-hmm.
has, put all this in me, and it just triggered all these emotions. And I think if a lot of us men, but all of us in general, take the time to tap into the source of us
Right.
and figure out what we're missing and what we need, it we'll be better off. And so
Absolutely.
that's why I had created this T-shirt saying "I am love." That's my affirmation.
Mm.
That's it every day, and I make people understand wherever your source is, God, Buddha,
Right.
Allah, wherever your
Right.
source is, that source is love.
Right.
Whoever your
Abs-
neighbor is, but they are love. So then,
right.
therefore, if they're love and we created in their image and likeness, then we are love too. So
Absolutely.
then, therefore, the first person you should ever try to seek love from is yourself.
Right.
And so, I think if we learn to love ourselves first and truly falling in love with us, then it won't be so hard for us to be able to love other people.
Absolutely.
So my next thing with you question for you, sir, is especially with you and your wife, if you see on social media is the gender wars. The men and the women are going at it, and I'm not understanding the why. So from a married perspective, can you speak on why, the women feeling like they need a certain type of man with the high value men,
Hmm.
and the men are saying, "But if you want the high value man, you gotta understand that it's very, very limited number of men like that, so then you're gonna be single."
Right.
So it's like a back and forth. Can you speak life into them? Because I think both sides, the men and the women, are missing the point of the value of the relationship.
I think those well that demographic of women, which is every day growing, those numbers get larger. As far as women feeling like a man's love has to show up in a way where he just gotta fly you all over the world every single day and pay all of your expenses for the rest of your life. I think there's more of a nobility to it than we realize.
Mhm,
I think men and how we have been defunct in these areas has contributed to it, and it's not all on us. Like we've been through a lot of shit. I'm writing in my book, Memoirs of a Former Fuckboy. Kind of the timeline of how we got to this point in human history, but also in Black culture, relationship culture, where we've had to go through chattel slavery. We've had to go through, domestic slavery in this country, and then, the Jim Crow and the race wars, and it's just been so much, all the way down to, the AIDS epidemic being thrust upon us, the crack epidemic, all the way to
mhm,
what's going on now. So it's been a lot of factors that aren't always factored into this conversation, right? But if you're a woman in 2024 and to a large degree you feel like the dating pool doesn't have many men, or not even just the dating pool, not many men you've come across in general have displayed emotional intelligence or awareness. If you feel like that's not available to you, and a woman is programmed to need safety, to need to feel safe, then you're gonna go to the next mode of safety, financial, right? If I can't get
mhm,
the emotional stability from you, then you're gonna make sure my bills paid, bro. You know what I'm saying? It
mhm,
may come across more materialistic than on a subconscious level it actually is. And I feel like to a large degree, women have given up on our ability to level up in these ways. Because most of the men that I've spoken to, met, worked with, come across that do have the emotional intelligence, the women in their lives see the value in that. And they're not demanding us to give them $50,000 stipend a month. Our ability to provide is so far beyond anything monetary. The men who aren't in that space yet, they're not attracting those type of women. So all they see is money hungry women saying pay all my bills. And most of what all those women see is men who are emotionally defunct and can't provide safety in any other way except for in the bedroom and monetarily. So to a large degree, when I work with my couples, it's pretty much a stalemate where the woman is voicing some semblance of, but this is how I feel. The man is voicing some semblance of, but it don't make sense, right? So to a large degree, the wars come about because the men are saying y'all want this, that, and the third, but y'all don't measure up, and y'all not doing this, and y'all not providing this. It don't make sense. And the women are saying, yeah, yeah, cool, but this is what we feel we need because the other parts are missing. So when the women can tap more into the logic, the problem solving of the masculine energy, when the
mhm,
men can tap into more of the emotion of the feminine, we'll have a clearer picture, and it won't be as much need for war. There will be opportunities for amicable conversation, because that's one of the things I'm proudest about on my posts. I know how to kick up dust. I know how to get a conversation going. I know how to
mhm,
trigger certain parts of the general populace's psyche, right? It's tricks to the trade. It's not just me brainlessly posting stuff. I be knowing what's going to go and how to make it go. But I'm proud of myself that I've created a comment section that, for the most part, these discussions can be had in a way where it's not just overt disrespect. People are like really looking for questions and answers from the opposite sex on the parts that they may not understand. So I feel like this is the phase where people are fed up with those type of podcasts. You'll see in the
Hmm.
comment section, man, government, please confiscate their mics. Please confiscate all podcast equipment. People fed up with it, and they want something different. They want something that's more balanced and equilateral. And I feel like that's what me and my wife have to offer in a lot of ways. That's why people resonate with us.
Absolutely. Because I just think it is funny because when I decided to start back up doing it, um, everybody was like, "You gotta jump on board with all that," and I was like, "No, that's not what
Right,
my purpose is. My purpose is to inspire, educate, and empower people to be their best version of themselves. So I have to be true to that because if anything else, I'm a fraud because
right,
I'm just doing it because
right.
I'm trying to make money. And if I be true to myself, just like you are true to yourself, it's gonna come to you anyway.
Exactly.
It might take a little bit longer
Right,
because we are spreading love and light, and that takes a little bit more traction to get
right,
than the negativity.
right.
But I'd rather do it like that and have true people who follow me and what I'm doing because they are genuinely interested in what I'm doing, and not because I'm creating all this negativity that they want to see to be entertained.
And that audience is underestimated. Being a hip hop head and lyricist artist myself, I've talked to a lot of MCs that feel like they have nothing to offer because the culture has shifted. And if you want to have like a top 10 Billboard hit, that may be a little challenging in this day and age. Speaking realness,
Mhm,
hip hop. But there's a huge demographic, untapped, unrecognized, unpromoted demographic of, let's say, and it's young ones in there too. I speak to a lot of young men. It's like, nah, I listen to Nas, I listen to 90s stuff, right? But let's just
mhm.
say for the most part, that demographic from about, I say 28 to about 60. We
Yep.
ain't got no hip hop coming our way designated for us. Well, not
No.
much, I'll say, right? And we got
No.
money. We got to a point in our life where we ain't got to struggle to go buy somebody's album. We want to be able to support and come to the shows, but you got what's promoted, that 5% of hip hop that they tell you it is now that's acceptable, and we think
Right.
there's no place for my voice. The same
Right.
thing is happening with the podcast, right? There's a huge demographic of an audience that's really taking this healing thing seriously and
Mhm,
wants to be able to. And again, this is why people go to bat for it so hard. It ain't just the fact that it's me and Candace. It's the fact that there right now is like food deserts or hip hop deserts. There's a real talk desert happening right now on social media. So if anybody is out here that feel like it's a million podcasts already, what can mine offer? The
mhm.
more of us take the onus to amplify our voices, we're able to cross the streams, form Voltron, and before you know it, the image of what's really going on in our minds and hearts start to shift.
Absolutely. And what you said is spot on because when it was put back on my spirit, I'm like, everybody out here doing it now, but everybody's not doing what I'm doing.
Exactly.
And then what I had to do too is this is hope everybody's listening. I had to be still for a minute. I just didn't just up and say, I'm gonna do it right now. I said I had to be still and say, okay, what's my intentions? Who do I want to talk to when I do
Right.
this? And
Right.
the why. And understand, it's easy to go through social media and find all the people with the high social media um, followers and want them because that's going to bring you notoriety. I wanted the people that spiritually I was led to.
Right.
And that if they had high followers, cool. If they didn't,
Right.
cool.
Right.
It was the fact that, I had to be led to that person.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna say it to you, when I got to the point that I'm gonna reach out to you, I prayed.
Mm.
I really prayed because I knew that if I had the chance to talk to you, it's gonna be a amazing conversation.
Mm.
And I felt like I knew that people who follow me would learn a lot. And even though I'm a coach, I can still learn from you as well.
Right.
So and for me, it was more selfish
Right.
because I wanted I want to physically tap into you and speak to you one on one because I want to learn from you as well. Even
Mm,
though I always give all the
right.
time, this time I want to receive, and I want to receive it from you. So that's why I really chose you, my
Mm,
brother, because you doing amazing things and you truly speak to my spirit. And that's
mm.
not a lot of people saying that. I can say that about.
And look how it works because we at a point in our journey for the most part. Um, we I say mandate. We mandate certain levels of reciprocity when it comes to doing other people's interviews and podcasts. Our schedule is crazy, and we are at a point where we can garner very good numbers on our own. So to a large degree, when big platforms and stuff like that reach out, are you gonna fly us out? Are you able to provide something, whether promo, whatever it is? But then we still keep our hearts open for those times where it's like, nah, God said do this one. So I must have felt the vibration of your intention, your prayers, because I ain't never asked you for a thing, and I'm at a point in my journey where we kind of have me and my wife talked about it like, nah, if we're gonna do something, there has to be some level of monetary reciprocity. But Spirit said, nah, this one got to get done. And then also just wanting to be able to support my brothers because I know to a large degree we just got to sometimes make those sacrifices as men fighting the good
Mhm.
fight on the front line. So I just wanted to highlight that when you do sit with it, when you're not in a rush, not just you, to the audience that's
Right.
watching, do sit with it. When you're not in a rush for notoriety or numbers and stuff like that, you really moving at the speed of what your heart is guiding you to. Those resources that your mind may say is out of your bracket, they're gonna respond to you. They're gonna bend to the will of God working through you. They'll be able to smell it and sniff it and see it from miles away. I don't even know where you live at. I had never heard of you or what you was doing until you reach out and instantaneously as I was reading your message, like, no, we doing this one. We ain't gonna ask him for a thing.
I appreciate that because you're right. Everything you said is true because some of the other ones did ask
Mm-hmm.
for monetary or they'll look at my social media and say I
Right,
don't have enough followers or just like
right.
that.
Mm-hmm.
And then for you to be like instantly like I got you,
Yeah,
that spoke volumes to me.
right,
And so I just felt, and this is why I tell people a lot of times at that moment, you and I was on the same vibration,
right.
and you was like, okay, I got this guy.
Absolutely, and we honored the whole process. You did your due diligence, checking in, sending the emails, staying on point. You didn't take advantage of my end of things, and then you said be there at 1:30. I ain't coming here a second after 1:30. We here, so even sometimes people feel like they making a sacrifice or trying to help you out, but then their intention, their will, their effort that they give to it lessens. Like, nah, if God tell me to do something, it don't matter if no money is being made. Me and my wife still have events we do to this day that we make sure is free for the community, because that's still a part of it, and I think it's a huge missing link in us being able to make a collective ascension because things are so monetary and so material based. Yeah, we got to pay our bills, we got to make our money, but we also got to keep our heart open for the time. Says God says, Noah, build the ark, right? We got to
Yeah.
be open to building the ark. Yep.
So before I let you go, 'cause I told you 45 minutes.
Yes, sir.
What what's next for you and your wife? So those who want to follow you from now
Mhm.
can know what you got going on plans, so they want to support you.
All right, so we just have launched, and we will be doing our first vegan supper club. Where you from, by the way?
Atlanta.
From Atlanta. You currently live in Atlanta?
Yes, sir.
I'll be out that way on Monday. Me and my wife gonna be out there for a couple days. I'll be doing Red Pills podcast that's open to the public, to the community. So it's gonna be a live taping, but the community could come through. I'll send you the
Okay.
flyer for that. So I'll be in Atlanta on Monday, but when we get back, me and my wife would be doing our first vegan supper club, first installment of our vegan supper club series. Supper clubs is something
Okay.
that's it kind of started from the mob guys, the Italians in the tri-state. They would get together once a month at their favorite tavern or restaurant. They would just break
Right.
bread, right? And then that trickled down to once black men started to become parts of the union, older black men from our community started to take that on. So that's part of our culture. And I wanted to fuse that with our need to be able to level up in our culture with food, and how much
Mhm.
of our health, mentally and spiritually, is based on what's on our plate. So we'll be launching our first one. It will be March 2nd. We already sold out, but we'll be doing it bi-monthly, bringing in different special chef guests and performers and all this different stuff. So that's up and running. We got our Mexico retreats that happen every year. We'll also be starting our first Houston retreat this year at Lake Houston. We're working on that right now as well. We'll be getting back to our podcast soon, our cooking videos, all that stuff. My wife has her book out, Remember Who the Fuck You Are. Y'all can buy that right now. My book is in the works. I also got a project, my return project to hip hop is coming this summer. Sasha Flowers Skincare, our vegan organic skincare line. We're in negotiations for a possible reality show, so we're working on that. So God just moving, man. And even though I'm saying things that could potentially be or are already in the works for being in the future, the most important thing to manifest those things is what's happening right now. So right now, I'm just appreciative to be here with you, to be breathing breath in my lungs, to have a roof over my head right now. Is always going to trump the future for me. But for those that want to, connect with us, that's some of the things that we're doing.
I, once again, I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Um,
Likewise.
I'm grateful that you was able to spend the 45 minutes with me. Take your time seriously. So I just want to thank you again for being the light that you are.
Mm-hmm.
Continue being the blessing you and your wife that you are. For those who see you, those who don't see you, you are affecting these people. You
Appreciate
have affected me. And so with that to say, I appreciate you, brother.
Likewise, I see you. I'm proud of you. Keep doing what you're doing. Hopefully, this goes up and I can shift some of my audience over to what you're doing. And we just continue to build Voltron, my brother. And hopefully, I could connect with you if you can make it through on Monday in Atlanta.
I'm gonna do my best. Cause I'll be off. I'll be free. So I'm gonna try to do my best
Okay.
to meet you up there.
I'm going to send you the flyer ASAP.
All right, peace out.
Appreciate you. Yes, sir.
And that's our show for tonight. He was an amazing guest. Rick City Buddha. So I'll put all his information in the description box below. And also, if you want to buy my hoodie or my t-shirt, I Am Love, I'll put the information in the description box below as well. Till our next episode of Conversation Coach Kevin, I'm your host, Kevin Thornton. Peace.